Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be making a female trouser. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing I'll do is I'll mark out my crotch depth. This size for this pant trouser is a large, that's L1, the first large size. So I'm going to be using 4 inches as my crotch depth. All measurement for this tutorial is going to be in inches. So once I've ruled out my crotch depth from one side of the fabric, I'll start by measuring my hip length, my crotch length, my knee length, my full length, and my folding allowance length. So my hip length is 9, then my crotch length is 11. So I'm adding half an inch for, because I'm using half an inch to join the band at the waist. So I'll mark out those measurements and I'll rule them out so that they'll be more visible. So my crotch length, I will extend it to the end of my folded fabric, since our crotch is getting to that place. Then also always make sure you add your folding allowance length at the bottom part when you are measuring. So the next thing I'll do, I'll just name the lines. That's my hip length, my crotch length, my knee length, my full length, then my waist. So next I'll just extend this my crotch line up a little bit. So next I'll measure out my waist, whatever the waist of whoever you are making for, in inches please. Then next I'll measure out my hip circumference. That's your hip circumference divided by 4, your waist divided by 4, your hip circumference divided by 4. Now what I'll do is I usually measure my thigh round. That's what I will use for this my crotch. This is my crotch area, that's the thigh round. So in this case, instead of dividing by 4, you divide your thigh round by 2. That's how you get this your the crotch circumference. Then next you join all your points together from your crotch length to your hip length to your waistline. So next you just curve this crotch depth. What I did is the 4 inches that I have as my crotch depth, I replicated the same 4 inches at the top to give it a better curve. Then when I joined it to the waistline, I took it in by 1/4 of an inch so that it will not budge at the front. So next I'll come down on my waist by 1/2 an inch, then I'll rule down to the waist line with a curve. So next I'll just add my allowance 1 inch both at the waist, at the hip, and at the crotch. So next I'll divide the widest part of our pants into 2, that's on the crotch line. So what I'll do, that middle line, I'll take it from that's our crotch length down to the bottom of our pants. So from our crotch, the side of our crotch depth, I'll measure half of the pant width and take it down. Then I'll rule a straight line to form the middle line. I don't know, just if you don't understand, please just look at the screen and see what I'm doing. Thank you. So the next thing I'll do is my knee round, that's my knee circumference. Same way I did for my thigh, I'll divide my knee circumference by 2. And once I've done that, once I've divided it by 2, I'll take the middle point. Like let's say for instance, divided by 2, I have 8. I'll put 4 at the middle, that middle line I drew. I'll mark 4 on one side, then I'll mark 4 on the opposite side so that it will be balanced and equal. I'll do the same thing for my length for my ankle, that's the bottom part of my pants. I'll do the same thing. Then what I'll do is I'll join each point, that's my ankle round to my knee round, then up to my crotch length to form the perfect shape of our pants. So next what I'll do is on my folding allowance line, I will go out by half an inch or quarter of an inch. Then I will join it back to the full length of my pants so that it will give this small flare look. So next what I'll do after I've done that, I'll just add my 1 inch allowance on the side seams, not on the center seam, or just on the side seams. And I think with that we are done with the front pattern of this trouser. So it's just to cut it out. Now fold your back panel, but make it a little bit bigger than what you folded for your front panel, because we are going to have an addition to this our back panel. So once you've done that, you place your cut out front panel for the trouser on top of this your folded back panel. So the first thing you do is on the inseam, you just trace out what you have on your front panel. Just cut it out with your scissors after you've placed it properly. Please place it properly. Thank you. So just cut out that center inseam. So next, you just make a small notch with your chalk on our crotch depth to know where your back crotch depth will terminate. So next, you move your front panel to the side so that you can add your allowance to the center inseam for your back panel. So once you've done that, on your crotch depth, you measure 3 inches allowance for the back panel. Then you also make sure you repeat the same thing for the bottom part so that they will be equal. You can also use 2 inches for the bottom part, but since this is a free pant trouser, I like using both 3 inches for the crotch extension for the back. Yes, the crotch extension for the back and for the bottom part. So once you've done that, you make a mark with your chalk. Next, you just trace out the side seam for this your back part. What you have on your front pattern for the side seam, you also repeat the same thing for the side seam of your back pattern so that it will be equal. Then you notch your the important points like the hip, the crotch, and the knee length. So next, what you do is you trim this drop down we did for our front pattern. You know, we took it down by half an inch at the center, so you trim that out so that you'll be able to get your crotch extension for the back, sorry, your waist extension for the back panel. So next thing you do is the allowance you add. So for this pant we are having a dart, so I'll add 1.5 inch to the back. After I've marked 1.5 inch, I'll also add 1 inch. So that is where our back panel crotch will start from. So next, from that point, I'll just rule a straight line so that I'll know where I'm taking my 2 inches extension for the back panel. So I'll take 2 inches up from this the waistline for my back panel. I will add 2 inches and I will rule a diagonal line to the side of my pant. So next, from that notch I made with my chalk on my crotch extension, I'll just join it to my back line. Then I'll cut it out. And I'll also like to note that the type of material you are using will determine the amount of inches you add on that our waist extension at the top. So if you are using a fabric that stretches a lot, like lacquer or maybe poly that stretches very, very well. You have to reduce the extension on the waist, but just be conscious of the type of material. If you're using a material that doesn't stretch at all, I will advise you to use more than 2 inches, especially if the person has a bigger butt. Using this tutorial as a guide, I hope you can create what works best for you and your client. And if you have any questions, you can drop it in the comment section and I will try to answer as clearly as possible. And thank you for staying till the end, and I'll see you in the next part. Bye for now.